Welcome to the Sadakaion program organized by Quantum Meditation Society London every week. Today we are talking about something that many people, including myself, have struggled with in their lives, and that is laziness and procrastination. Now, before we dive deeper, I would like to say that from a psychologist's point of view, laziness and procrastination are two different things. However, when we, the ordinary people, talk about these things, we often talk about these things interchangeably. We would say, like, oh, I'm so lazy, or oh, I am an incorrigible procrastinator. Or we say some so and so is so lazy, or such and such cultures are lazy, and so on and so forth. And the things I'm going to talk about today apply to both these terms, both to laziness and procrastination. So I just wanted to clarify that before we went deeper. So we often talk about especially laziness and also procrastination as if it is an intrinsic quality. A person is just lazy, or a group of people are just lazy. But the truth is, very few people are actually intrinsically lazy. All human beings have this tendency to choose comfort over pain. We have that. Whenever there is a choice between doing something that we're comfortable with and doing something that requires effort or requires us to endure some discomfort, we do have this tendency to choose the comfortable thing. However, most of us human beings also would not want to be lazy all the time, would not want to be idle all the time. Most of us want to do something productive. Most of us give value to effort and achievements and reaching our goals, fulfilling our missions, doing something valuable with our lives. And of course, just doing what we need to do to survive comfortably with us, ourselves, and our families. So most of us actually want to work, want to do something productive, but oftentimes what is happening is that underneath the apparent lack of motivation, the apparent lack of effort, there are a lot of mental, emotional things that are going on. And if we become aware of them, if we learn how to identify the various mental, emotional states that lead us to not feel motivated in the first place, or to fear our fear doing some kind of work, or just in general holds us back from putting in our efforts. The more we become aware of those things and know how to deal with those things, the more we will discover that we really are not actually lazy. We were not lazy. We're not procrastinators. It is just some unresolved things that we have let that we've allowed to go on within us, that we didn't know how to deal with, or we're not really very clear on, that has led us to act in a certain way for all this time. So what we're doing today is that we are looking at 10 major causes that lead to laziness or procrastination. Now, the first thing I want to get out of the way is sometimes, because of physical reasons, you really may feel a lack of energy. You really may not have enough physical or mental energy to do something, right? So let's call this point fatigue, right? So it may be because you're just not taking good care of yourself. You are not sleeping. When I was young, when I was a teenager, I used to be really into reading books. And then oftentimes what would happen is I would just go on reading the book all night. If I just get so much into the book, like I couldn't leave it until I finished it. So I would sometimes just keep on reading, and then I would realize that, oh, now it's morning and I've been basically reading the book all night. So you may be doing something that is really hampering your sleep. You may be eating stuff that lead to lethargy. You may not have any kind of exercise in your life. You may lead a very sedentary lifestyle. For or for various reasons, there may be some imbalance in your thyroid system. In the secretion of your body is not secreting a balanced amount of thyroid, or may have led to other physical ailments that is leading you to feel very, very um, tired, fatigued, maybe it causing brain fog. All of this are making it much, much harder for you to get up and do the things you want to do. So, so always be aware that there can always be some physical reasons for something, and if you develop these good habits of nice healthy sleep habits, nice healthy food habits, nice healthy exercise habits, uh, and of course meditation and all the other things, then they will help you with lots of things. Okay, now let's move on to the mental emotional reasons. The first point was fatigue. In the mental emotional reasons, what I think is the most important thing to realize is that your brain will not create motivation for something it regards pointless. Our brains are made to be very efficient. So, whatever we're doing, the brain has to allocate energy for it, right? The brain has to send different chemicals to the right areas to create the motivation and create the strength, the energy that you need to do it. And because we have a limited amount of these resources, the brain will only send these resources to something it regards rewarding. Now, if, say, you are a student and your mom and dad are continuously telling you to study, but for some reason when you are at the study table, you do not feel like studying and you think about other things and you're playing games and you are maybe putting a storybook and not, under your study book or something like that. It is probably because you yourself don't really deep down don't really regard studying as something that would bring something beneficial, rewarding to you, to your life. Now, this could be because you don't identify as a good student. You think like, oh, deep down, you think like, oh, I'm just not as smart as that boy in my class or that girl in my class. No matter how much I study, I won't. It might be you actually in some past year put in some effort and you were kind of hoping that you would get good results that year, but your results maybe improved a little bit, but not as much as you thought they would, because it does take some time for the results of our efforts to manifest, right? So then maybe after that, now you're thinking like, oh, it's pointless. It don't, it don't happen. I'm just not cut out for that. Or it might be that you are surrounded by people, you live in an atmosphere where nobody really believes that anything worthwhile can be attained by putting effort in your study. Because maybe because your parents, the parents of your friends, all of those people are not people uh, who were highly educated or attained things through education, you know. So it was very interesting. I watched this on YouTube a few months ago, and it was about school swap. So it was a documentary about some students from a school that is facing a lot of challenges, let's say, going to very sort of a posh school, and then the schools that is where everything's very well taken care of, and so on and so forth. And then there's and the some students coming from the posh schools to this school that is sort of undergoing a lot of challenges. Now, it was very interesting what happened when these two students from these schools went to these to the posh school, the private school. So one of the students said, like, I just love it here. I really want to stay because when I was there, I couldn't really, my whole lifestyle was such that I didn't feel supported, and I was playing video games the whole time after I went back from school. But now things are so nice, and so on and so forth. But then there was this other girl who said, like, look, none of that is necessary, and I don't need to come to this school. What I see in my school is that most of the people around me have just given up. Something just have just gone off in their heads. Like they just think that this is their life, and they can't really have a life that is better, happier, more successful. So there is no reason for them to to put in any effort than they're already putting in. And she said, like, if but I don't want that life. I want to really do something that is very impactful. I think she said something like she wanted to be the prime minister or something like that. And she said, but I can do it from there. There's no need for all of this. And then she went back. And then this program was recorded a few years ago, and then I followed up on this girl, and I found out that she actually got into medical school in Cambridge. I think either Cambridge or Oxford, one of the Oxford universities. And she's on her way to becoming a doctor, and she's probably one of the first person, or one of very few people from that school ever to get into Oxbridge in medical school. But she could do it because the light hadn't gone off, the hope hadn't gone off in her mind. Uh, and that is because of our background, where I'm not going into now. But that's what we have also seen in our experience in quantum foundation as a whole. What the first thing we do in the residential school that we have in the hill tracts, Chittagong hill tracts in Bangladesh, when those deprived children come, is that we say like, oh, what are you going to do? And they say, I'm going to be first, and they say it in their dialect. But the first thing we do is try to rekindle their belief. There's a lot of things that are put in place to rekindle that belief. And what we have seen is like once your belief is there, then the motivation comes naturally. So if you find that you're not finding motivation, the first thing is explore your beliefs. What is my brain thinking that this thing that I want to do is pointless for some reason? And if so, what are those reasons? And then, of course, I will tell you how to change your assumptions about those reasons through meditation. Now, moving on to our point 3. So fatigue, belief, and point 3, I would say is like super, super common is for us being too afraid to put in effort is social fear for social reasons, and which lead to a certain kind of perfectionism. So you might come from the opposite extreme of what these children of the school that this girl was going to was coming from. You might actually come from a background where let's just stick to academics. Academic success is really, really highly regarded, right? So in that case, there might be you parents maybe very, very academically accomplished, people around you, your friends, your whole reference group might be people who are always excelling in their studies and so on and so forth. And because of that, you may have developed a perfectionism within you where you feel like, oh, if I don't do well, then that will be something super embarrassing. And while this, on the surface might seem like something that would propel you to study more, but when this becomes very acute, what it does is it's just makes you feel too much pressure and too much fear about this act of studying. And what you want to do is to cope with that feeling of pressure and fear by distracting yourself, by reading a book, by playing a game, by being on social media, and so on and so forth. So it is much easier for you to tell yourself that, oh, your subconscious to tell yourself that, yeah, if I don't do well, it's because I didn't put in enough effort, but I'm actually smart, or it's much easier for you to be in possibility that you want to do something and you're dreaming of do something, but if you actually do it and fail at it, then you're like, oh, that possibility is not there anymore. So you'd rather just keep on dreaming about it rather than actually do it and put it out in the world and see if you can be successful or not at it, because that may lead to you having to accept that, oh, like I am not as good at it as I thought, or it's not bringing in the rewards that I dreamed of. So because of these reasons, these fears, so social fear, perfectionism, fear of failure, all three are related. You might feel it's safer to just not really have a real go at something. Okay, now another fear that makes us procrastinate, makes us lazy, in our words, is fear of success. Now, this sounds very, very very counterintuitive when you first hear that. Why would somebody be afraid of success? But as we have said many times in this program, that our subconscious really likes being in the familiar, right? So say if I am dreaming of becoming a successful entrepreneur, but part of me, my subconscious, might be like, oh, I don't know what entrepreneur's life is like because it's not something familiar to me, right? So it is going like, oh, all those entrepreneurs, they're shallow people. They're just after money. Or, oh, they're just so busy, and you have to do whatever your client needs at that point, and whatever your business needs at that point, and that may make you like not have enough time for your kids, or not have enough time for the things you want to do. So there is a lot of fear that our subconscious generates whenever we're trying to do something that is new and unfamiliar to us. And success in what we want to do might be something that we haven't normalized yet. So there might be a lot of fear surrounding that. Okay, now one thing that a lot of people procrastinate about is making decisions. So if the kind of thing that you're procrastinating about and or procrastinating in involves you making a lot of decisions, then you may find that you tend to delay those things, right? So you may find that if somebody comes and tells you, okay, you studied this and this from this time, and after this you do exactly this. Okay, you need to practice this much, but beyond that, it's too much practice. If somebody makes all those decisions for you, you may find that you're perfectly willing to work. So what that shows is that the pressure, the negative emotion that was keeping you off doing the studying is because you were not sure about how to decide on these things, because the human mind uh, often finds making decisions tough and doesn't want to get the decisions wrong. So now, what successful people say, and this I actually was listening to Sundar Pichai, I think his name, the CEO of Google, saying that this is something that most leaders are sort of get wrong. And I learned this early in my life, is that making any decision is better than making no decision. And a lot of people will tell you this, because whenever you make a decision and you go forward with it, you get data, you get feedback. That feedback then tells you that, okay, I didn't know as much practice, or I spent too much time studying that one thing, and then I didn't have enough time to do these things. So there's, whenever you go forward with any decision, whether regardless of whether it's right or wrong, it's a better choice because you get feedback that helps you make the next decision. But if you don't go forward with something in the first place, then you really don't know what is working and what is not. So think about these things. Like, is it the fear of making decision that is making me feel so uncomfortable about this task? Another thing that is related is you are feeling overwhelmed by the um, amount of things that you need to do. Maybe you need to prepare for a big exam, and you're also perfectionist. You have big goals, and you also think yourself as smart, but there's just so much to do. And whenever you're thinking of sitting down and studying, it's this whole, you think of the entire weight of all that work is on your mind. I mean, that certainly was how I used to be. So we don't, the solution to that is really, really two things. The practical thing is learning to break your work up in smaller chunks and completely forgetting about the rest of it when you're doing it, right? All you need to do today is do what you need to do today. or at least try to do what you need to do today. You don't need to think about tomorrow. If you take care of today, tomorrow will take care of it, right? So all you need to do today is really to think about what you need to do today and just start. And one thing that is related to this is trying and growing to enjoy the process. That is something that we'll discuss elaborately on a different day. But if you are someone who is thinks a lot about the outcome and not enough, but is not really developing a comfort level with the process, then that doesn't bode well for your outcome either. So focus on getting the process right, getting the system right, and being in the process, enjoying the process more, being immersed in the process, and you will see that the outcome will take care of itself. Another, so we have gone through 6 points so far. We have 4 more points to go. Number 7 is that you have developed a habit of procrastination. What does that mean? What are habits? Habits are things that have 3 things. It has a cue, then an action that you do in response to that cue, and then a reward that you get as a result for that action. Or your for whatever reason, your brain regards that thing as a reward. So so here's an example directly from my life about how this habit worked in my life. So for I would say 2-3 years in my life, I wasn't working in the office, and I had spent 2-3 very intense years being the mother of an infant. So that takes up a lot of your of inner resources, right? And then after that, after my older son started going to school, I got a little bit of time during the day, and I was working from home with not much accountability. So what happened during that time is that I would wake up early, get my son ready from school and stuff, do all the early things. Then after he left, I had my breakfast, and after I dropped him off to school, I had my breakfast. After I'd have my breakfast, I would take my cup of tea to my desk, to my work desk, right? And I would tell myself, I would just sort of relax until I finish my tea. So my cue was my tea, finishing my tea. I would just look at YouTube until I finish my tea. So you see where you're going, right? So what would happen is like what often happens when you are in social media is you go from one thing to another, and then before you know it, 2 hours have passed. So what would happen is like after that time, I would then like, oh my God, and then I would scramble, and then I would try to do some work, but obviously the whole experience would leave a very bad feeling in me, and which then led to other negative outcomes. But this is how that habit played out. The cue was the tea, relax when I'm having the tea, followed by the action of browsing, followed by the apparent reward of the inherent dopamine surge that is happening from watching something on YouTube. And often it would be something that I'm learning from. So I could tell myself that I'm just researching, right? But I would spend way too much time on it and not actually doing the work, the proactive work, my own writing, my own giving out to the world. So if you think you have a habit, like you can separate your like procrastination by a cue, then the act of procrastinating by doing something, being distracted by something, and then what happened, reward you're getting from it. You have to You have to start with the cue. If it's a cue that you have control over, you have to start with the cue. What I do these days is that I have completely banned like any sort of browsing in the first half of the morning before I have got into my work. So if I drop off my kids or if I don't like after I finish my breakfast when it's work time, I've just changed the cue. First thing I do is I turn on my work. So then, as you may already know, if you start, it's just much easier to go on. I've changed the cue. All right. So, uh, and then, so number 8 is that if you have done if you have done this enough in your life that oftentimes you've wanted to do something but you haven't, and you have later felt like you've wasted the time, you have either by your definition been lazy or procrastinated. What often happens is that we develop this identity of being a lazy person or being a procrastinator. A lot of people, a lot of us call ourselves, "Oh, I'm just too lazy for this," or I'm a procrastinator. And that in let me use Tony Robbins' words, like the strongest force within a human being is the force to stay consistent with how you define yourself. Okay, so I'm paraphrasing, but basically, within yourself, there's a very strong tendency to stay consistent with how you look at yourself. So once you give yourself that definition, once you give yourself that definition of being lazy or being a procrastinator, you after that you are just playing that role out. You're not questioning it. And until you change that definition of yourself, it will be very difficult to change that action. Okay, so this is something that is very fundamental in the field of personal growth, is that you really have to change your self-image, your self-identity, if you want to change your actions and therefore your outcomes, your outer reality, your outer life. So if you're saying that, I please go back to what I said right at the beginning. There are very, 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 very few people who are actually intrinsically so lazy that they don't want to. They really just don't want to do anything. And if you were one of them, you wouldn't be watching them. This program, if we're one of them, you wouldn't even be maybe calling yourself lazy or a procrastinator. The very fact that you're calling yourself lazy or a procrastinator shows that you actually want to act in a different way. And because you're not being able to generate the motivation or whatever it is that you need to actually follow through with your intentions, you are calling yourself these things. Okay, so change that identity and go through the other list of things that I just mentioned before this, and then think what of these things apply to me, and then tell yourself that, oh, this is why I was doing it. Now I know better. And then I will change this, and gradually my actions will also change. But I am not a lazy person. I'm not a procrastinator. Okay. I'm just someone who is learning. All right. So point number 9 after identity is what happens is, like, along with this identity, a lot of shame gets created within us simply because we have been unable to follow through with what we intended so many times. So, um, 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 so we think that there is something missing in us, there is something lacking in us, and whenever we're going to sort of face this, whenever we think of doing work, that shame that gets activated and we start feeling very bad inside, We start feeling all these emotions. Shame is one of them, maybe hopelessness, maybe also fear. It can be a combination of the lot of the things I mentioned together that gets activated when you're actually going to do your work. That creates a feeling that's too uncomfortable for you to face, and then you distract yourself, basically trying to. So you are procrastinating in an effort to escape from that uncomfortable feeling that is being generated when you are starting to work. So again, we have these meditations through which you can release negative emotions. You can release a shame, fear, negative beliefs. So we'll do one of those today, but uh, so know that there are various ways, and I will explain them, uh, in the as we go on. And then the last thing point number 10, I would say that for some people, and usually it's not the person who is calling themselves lazy, is that it's you just like you don't have any really goal that you want to achieve, so you're pretty happy with how things are now. So then in that case there is no reason to choose effort over comfort, right? So that's why you are just going on. But that again, that is, even though that's a human tendency to choose comfort, but especially in today's world, especially the kind of people who would be listening to something like this, it's, I would say, like, it's very unusual that you are just happy with the things you are, and you just want to be comfortable. If you want to, fine, but people usually don't like being that way for too long, because people also want challenges in their life. People also want stimulation in their life, and that makes them actually want to put in effort. So that was point number 10. That may apply in a small number of cases where you're actually just happy with the things you are, and because of that, you're choosing comfort. If that's what the stage of life you're in, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so or choosing comfort or choosing healing or something like that is your priority right now, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, so summing up, we would say that that basically take care of yourself with the good habits. Look at your beliefs, and if there are any beliefs that are making the effort seem pointless, change those. Release, face and release all the negative emotions, the different types of fear, the shame, etc., that I talked about through meditation. Uh, uh, Learn, get in the habit of making decisions. Learn how to break up work in small pieces. Change the cue if you've developed a habit of procrastination. Change your identity. And then maybe if, maybe just look for the meaning in your life and what you want to do with your life, so that you make the most of this wonderful, wonderful gift that we have all been given. All right, so that was our talk for now, and let's do the negative thinking meditation today, and where you can, if you have identified any of the negative beliefs that you have that is making your work seem pointless, you can you can get rid of that, release that energy through this meditation, or any other kinds of negative thinking patterns you've identified in yourself. You can use this meditation to break out of. All right, so those of you who are listening to this in YouTube, you can find the link of the meditation in the description below. um, Description below. Okay, so as always, let's just give me 1 second to turn on the meditation.
Welcome to Peace and Happiness. Dear friend, I congratulate you for taking the first step to break the chain of negative thinking. You know, the vicious cycle of negative thinking can turn a life of infinite promise into a miserable failure. I, Shahid al Bukhari Mahajatak, will be your guide in this special meditation for breaking the chains of negative thoughts and beliefs. If you continue to practice this meditation, you will be able to break free of your negative beliefs and thought patterns. Your confidence in yourself will become unshakable. You will be able to use your gifts and talents freely to attain health, happiness, and success. In this meditation, first you will free your mind from the influence of all negative thoughts and beliefs in the Alpha station. Then you will go to your quantum home and strengthen the foundation for a wonderful future with positive auto-suggestions. If you are ready, let us begin our quantum journey. Close your eyes softly. Take a deep, long breath. Inhale through your nostrils. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Expand your lower chest and upper abdomen as you inhale. This is called abdominal breathing. Take a bit longer to exhale than to inhale. Inhale through your nostrils deeply and slowly, and exhale slowly through your mouth. As you inhale, feel abundant, natural, and cosmic energy entering your body. As you exhale, feel all the toxins and harmful elements going out of your body. Inhale deeply through your nostrils and exhale through your mouth. As you inhale, feel abundant, natural, and cosmic energy entering your body. As you exhale, feel all the toxins and harmful elements going out of your body. Inhale through your nostrils and exhale through your mouth. As you inhale, feel abundant, natural, and cosmic energy making you more lively and energetic. As you exhale, feel all the toxins and harmful elements going out of your body. Inhale again, exhale slowly. Now as you exhale, feel your body is slowly becoming numb. You are now unable to move your hands and legs. Your body is motionless and inert. Now breathe normally through your nostrils. Now breathe very slowly. Take a bit more time to exhale than to inhale. Inhale slowly. Slowly exhale. 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 Now breathe normally.